covering the community, the people, events, and issues of Georgia, Carolina. This is the Means Report. Now, from the studios of WJBF News Channel 6 in Television Park in downtown Augusta, here's Brad Means.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Means Report. So happy to have you spending part of your Sunday with us on this day that's dedicated, well, partially to your health and partially to the health of others. We have some experts here from Doctors Hospital to talk about some things that may surprise you, especially when it comes to your heart health. And we want to tell you about a special new tool that's available that could help make sure you catch things before it's too late. We also want to talk about the hard work of the Southeastern Firefighters Burn Foundation, a group that tirelessly works to help burn victims and their families. Remember this past week, I don't know if you caught the coverage of it, but a special time at Doctors Hospital as they delivered teddy bears and other stuffed animals to babies. Firefighters turning out in force to help make those little ones' day a little bit brighter. You know, the Joseph M. Still Burn Center serves the better part of 700 children each year. A lot of burn victims come through there, and unfortunately, many of them are young, but those cute babies had a bright spot in their day for sure. Thank you so much, Southeastern Firefighters Burn Foundation, and thank you to the firefighters for turning out for stuffed animals for smiles. Dr. Jo Maypole is joining us now. She's the president and CEO of the Southeastern Firefighters Burn Foundation. She's no stranger to News Channel 6, always there to help us when we need it, even when things are kind of hectic over at the Burn Center. And Dr. Maypole, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Let me ask you about the stuffed animal giveaway. First of all, how did that go? You know, we of course always get to see just 30 or 45 seconds of something after the cameras were gone. Was it really as cheerful as it looked? Does it really affect those little ones when they see that kind of response and they see those smiles and they see those bears and other animals?
Well, indeed it does, and as always, it brought great joy to the children, and not only the children that are there today, but the children that will be coming in the months ahead. And you know, it brightens the day for the parents too, because there's somebody else in their life pulling for their child.
Well, you know what, it's also probably a bright spot for the medical staff at the Still Burn Center as well, because they have a stressful job, and nice for them to get a smile every once in a while too.
It is, and you know, sometimes those patients and their families are here for weeks, and so they become very much like family for all of us.
I want to talk in a minute about how you reach out to those families and help them, but first, how do these children get burned?
Well, you know, when we look at burns as a whole, probably the number one cause of burns is fire. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of
house fires, accidental house fires, or is it
house fires, fires when people are cooking in the backyard, you know, brush fires when people are burning off their property. So we do, that is the most common. The second most common is scalds, and we particularly see that in children, scalded from some type of hot water, maybe sometimes even bath water.
I would say that probably a good bit of the viewing audience right now is surprised to hear this, because most of us take every precaution to protect our children from burns, and I'm certainly not saying that your patients are the victims of wrongdoing, but is it just carelessness sometimes? Is it just sometimes overlooking the obvious, like the fact that the water may be too hot or that the child is too close to the grill? I want to make sure that we can convince folks to pay extra attention and be safer. What causes these things? Just people overlooking the obvious?
Well, I think in most cases it is carelessness, and I think it's because all of us think this won't happen to us.
That's true.
Or we turn our head for that split second that maybe causes that child to reach for a cup of hot coffee or a bowl of ramen noodles or whatever it is that burns that child. And so I think we sort of take for granted that this won't happen to us. And so most of the time it is preventable.
Yeah, you're right, and nobody's perfect and accidents do happen, but it just sort of affects you to look at the video and see the tiny ones with bandages on them. What do you all do at the foundation to help the people at the Joseph M. Still Burn Center and to help these burn patients? Just first of all, from a fundraising aspect, how does the foundation act in that regard?
Well, we function as a public charity, and so all of our funds either come through donations or grants or fundraisers. And the firefighter community, in fact the first responder community, they are tremendous supporters of ours, and each year they raise about 25% of our budget.
How do they get the money? How do they bring it in? Are we talking boot drives?
Boot drives, yes. When you see them out on the side of the road, there's a very good possibility that they're fundraising for us. Some have golf tournaments. There's a great group down in Savannah that does a calendar every year of firefighters. So they're very creative, but small and large, those gifts come in, and it makes up for 25% of our budget.
How many, what part of the country do you see burn victims come from? Is it all over? Is it just the Southeast, as your name of your foundation indicates?
Well, it is primarily the Southeast because our burn center is so large, and because of the specialty and the specialization that our physicians have and the equipment that we have and all. We actually get burn patients from all over the country. The majority of them come from the Southeast, about 50% from Georgia and about 40% from South Carolina.
What do you do for the families when they're here? And sort of take me through what it's like when you drop a burn patient off and then there you are, mom and dad and brother and sister. And what happens from there, and how can the Southeastern Firefighters Burn Foundation help them?
Well, I think first of all, for those of us that are parents or grandparents, if you put yourself in the shoes of that family member, that mother, that grandmother, uncle, whoever it is that's caring for that child, when that child leaves, often on a medical helicopter, the first thing you do, if you're not in the helicopter with the child, you get in the car and you come as fast as you can.
Right.
Sometimes they drive for hours to get here. Often they don't have as much as a toothbrush with them. They literally get in the car and head out just as you or I would. So when they get here, one of the things that we do is we operate the Chavis House, which is a 50-bed residence. We call it a home away from home, where those families can stay while their loved one is in the burn center. So whether it's an adult that's over there or a child that's over there, we try to give those families the support. It's free.
Wow.
Sometimes they stay weeks, even months with us.
What about the patients when they are at the end of their treatment, or at least the point where they can be released? How can you help them sort of transition out of the hospital and back into their rehabilitation at home? You all help them as they go away too.
We do. That is a joyful day for us because sometimes that's the first time we've actually seen that patient.
Yeah.
And when that mother comes in with that baby ready to go home, one of the things that we do, if the family has financial needs, we will make sure that nobody leaves without their medication. Often it's pain medication, often it's antibiotics, and we make sure they have those. We also sometimes actually provide transportation home and then back for follow-up appointments because unfortunately some of these children and adults will be patients for 2 years or more, coming back for skin grafts and follow-up checks and things like that.
What's the response to that kind of hospitality? What do you hear and see from those families and patients who get touched by y'all?
Well, I would say that at least once a day, someone comes to me with a hug and says, "God bless you." And I'm taking credit then for all the donors out there that support us, for all the firefighters that support us, and frankly for those caregivers in the hospital who are really the ones that are producing the miracles. But these families are so glad because they simply could not stay near their loved one. The other thing that's so beautiful is we have civic clubs and churches throughout the community that provide one hot meal every day.
Every single day.
Every
these
single
people are
day
taken
of the
care
year.
of.
Yep.
Can people watching this program help you? How do we contribute to the Burn Foundation and help keep y'all's efforts going strong?
Well, first of all, we welcome any kind of contribution, small or large, and we appreciate those. We also are always looking for more churches and that kind of thing to help us with the feeding program. So if you're a member of a church or part of a civic group and you think you might like to do that one day of the year, because we have turnover in that area, and some churches, you know, do it many times a year and some are only able to do it once a year. So that's an opportunity. Sometimes we need volunteers for special events. We've got a group right now working on the Memorial Garden, which is where the families go. It's really a meditation garden, and it's where the families go and can sit outside and get a little peace and quiet away from the hospital.
Well, I hope people watching will support you. I know that this community tries its best to do that year-round, and hopefully we can add to that support today. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's a great opportunity to tell a wonderful story.
No question. Joe Maypole, President and CEO of the Southeastern Firefighters Burn Foundation. We're grateful for her, and we're grateful to you for your support. You know, we saw those babies and we found out about those stuffed animals, and so we knew we had to take it one step further here on the Means Report, give it some more coverage, and then all of a sudden you learn about all of the other things going on with the foundation and with the burn center as well. Very, very impressive. When we come back on the Means Report, we want to tell you about a couple more health-related items, but we don't want to go to break without reiterating the fact that they need your help at Doctors Hospital, at the Southeastern Firefighters Burn Foundation. If you want to donate stuffed animals for those pediatric patients, it's easy to do so. Just call Erin. She's a child life specialist at Doctors Hospital, and her number is 706-651-4717. Again, that's 706-651-4717. Speaking of children, how about 12-year-olds with plaque in their arteries? Really? At that young age? Yes, it's happening. We'll be back in a second.